We're doing more than cooking pizza in this show. We're talking about some outstanding green building ideas, and it all starts right after this. Over the past 20 years as a garden designer, I've enjoyed helping homeowners create private sanctuaries full of beauty and wonder. I find each garden to be a fresh opportunity to explore ways to create uniquely personal spaces. These are just a few of the gardens I've helped to transform into garden homes. Hi, I'm Alan Smith. Welcome to The Garden Home, a show about blurring the lines between inside and out. And today we're going to be talking about blurring the lines between kitchens inside and out. I'm so excited about my brick oven here. I just had to fire it up and give it a test run. What's amazing to me about these things is you can cook delicious, well, pizzas and lots of other things, including bread, but the temperature that you can create in one of these is astonishing. You want to get it up to about 700 degrees to be able to cook a pizza, and it only takes about 4 to 5 minutes. In today's show, we're going to cover a lot of things about the kitchen. In fact, I want to show you the summer kitchen and how it's moving along. We'll also head out into the garden to check out what's in season and see what we can do to protect vegetables and flowers from the frost that will soon be upon us. And we'll also talk about ways to get a jump start on the seasons ahead. And we'll catch up with a rice farmer turned builder who employed many of the environmentally friendly principles that we're working on here in his home. It's an inspiring story with some really simple steps that everyone can try to live just a little greener. For example, did you know that painting your walls a lighter shade can help reflect light in rooms, thus eliminating the need to run electrical lighting during the day? How easy is that? It's a little nippy out here, so I thought what we might do is step into a building that's coming along very nicely. This is the summer kitchen. So come on in, I want to just show you. Now, if you think about a house, the kitchen is largely regarded as the heart of the home. And in a kitchen, the hearth is the heart of the kitchen. And what we have here is a Rumford firebox. Now, this goes way back. You see, Rumford fireboxes were developed in the 18th century and became very popular throughout the 19th century. And it's amazing what a tall, narrow firebox like this can do in terms of conserving heat. So in a way, this really does help conserve energy, so it's a very old green component. I've got a pair of old andirons in there that came from the county where my dad and grandparents are from, so that makes it even more special. You see, I had to go ahead and trial a fire in here, even though this building isn't finished. Now you may be thinking, why a summer kitchen? Well, you know, the way we're building this house, it's based on the narrative of an 1830s farmhouse. So in this part of the world, in the South, often the kitchens were detached and removed from the houses themselves. And this was for two reasons. One was heat, because it gets very hot in the South, and you didn't want the heat from the kitchen bringing up the temperatures in the house, and secondly, the fear of fire. So what we're doing in this space is we're turning it into a summer kitchen. We're going to be able to come in here and take vegetables from the garden and do all sorts of preparations and even some canning. Now what the guys are doing today is they're beginning to cover all of the walls, including the ceiling, with cypress wood. And I had a friend of mine down in the southern part of the state cut this for me. And what we're doing here is a process called shiplap, and you can see that these edges are cut so that they overlap just like that, and they've already been primed. So once these go up, it can be painted, and then you won't see any of the raw wood in between the cracks. So this is called shiplap, and these are 12-inch boards of cypress. They will be hung on the walls in a horizontal pattern. You see, that'll cover up all of this foam insulation, which, by the way, is made from soybean oil, which is really amazing to me. Another green component here to this summer kitchen. Now, if you climb up here, you can get a better idea of what the guys are doing. They're doing a great job. You can see these cypress beams that are in place here, and then they'll have a beam that'll run right through the center. And then coming down from each one of those points will be a king post. Looking pretty good, isn't it? All right, now let's come back downstairs I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the layout of this room. It's very basic. You see, what's going to happen is there's going to be an island here, a generous island, that will have a galvanized top on it. What I want this room to feel like is a place where you can come in, bring vegetables, wash them up, and get to work preparing them for a great meal. There'll be a sink over there by the window, and then plenty of cabinets, and of course all the appliances you would have in a modern kitchen. Now, this is just one of the kitchens we're going to have out here. This is the kitchen that we'll bring food from the garden directly into. The one that will be inside the house, it'll be designed a little bit different. We'll get to it in a little later show. You know, anytime you're creating a kitchen, one of the big questions is a countertop. I just mentioned I'm going to do a galvanized countertop on the island. But the rest of the counters I haven't quite worked out yet. You know, you want them to last, you want them to remain in style, and as far as I'm concerned, you want them to be green. We had a chance to speak with Wendy Glover, who talks us through some of the important issues that one should consider, whether you're starting from scratch or remodeling a kitchen. You see, it's important to understand the advantages and disadvantages of all the options.
The kitchen is the heart of the home. It's completely open now to the house. It's literally the center of the house. You have islands. You want people to sit there. You want to gather the kids in to do their homework, and you want your friends to be in there while you're cooking. So it literally is the most used room in the entire house. The first thing you need to do when remodeling a kitchen is to decide what style you want to go with. If you're going to go with a contemporary, a soft contemporary, if you want to do a country kitchen with beadboard. Right now we're seeing darker stains, we're seeing glazes on top of the stains, we're seeing glazes on whites, and then also your traditional white cabinet. This is an example of a frameless cabinet. It eliminates the frame around the box, providing wider openings, wider drawer spaces. It's made out of 3/4 inch tops, bottoms, and sides that are doweled and glued together. You can see up in the top, it's bright and light. The main place it makes a difference is in your drawers. In your drawers, you've eliminated the frame, which is 1.5 inches off of each side of the cabinet, top and bottom, around the drawer. You've also gone to an undermount guide, which makes your drawer that much wider. You can get 1.5 inches easily within the drawer per cabinet. It amounts to about 15% more storage space in your kitchen. These are undermount guides. These particular ones are full extension, which means the drawer comes all the way out. You can see completely everything that's in your drawer. It comes out to the countertop, where standard drawer guides usually stop about right here, and you end up having this kind of dark area that you can't reach or get to. You tend to lose stuff. So you want to ask for the full extension guides. One of the neat things in hinges right now is the new little buffer system. It's a hinge that's got this little added buffer there that catches the door and makes a soft close. So when you close it, you can't slam the doors. It's quiet. People love it because it's quiet. People love it if they have children. You don't have little fingers that get caught up in doors. Another thing you need to think about when you're working on your kitchen, of course, is your countertops. That is a huge part of the kitchen. It's also a pretty big expense. Right now the trend is in granite, quartz products, mainly your slab surfaces. People want a smooth slab piece of countertop. They don't want any seams in it. They don't want to have to deal with grout lines. Tile is not nearly as popular as it used to be. With granite is a natural product. Granite is literally cut from the mountain, and you're going to have fissures in it. You're going to have the slabs only come in such a large piece. It's a piece from nature. So you're going to have seams in it. You have to know that you're going to have seams. If you do choose granite, people make a big deal. They say, oh, I don't want granite because I have to seal it. It is literally, it is so simple to do. It's something that you go by, you spray it on, and you wipe it off, and you really need to do it. It's recommended that you do it to keep the life of the granite. Granite will last forever, but you should take their advice and seal it once a year. Next, you have a quartz product. A quartz looks like granite. It's hard like granite. It's heat resistant like granite is. It's not going to scratch. Granite doesn't scratch either. You can take stuff out of the oven, take stuff off your burners, put it on. It's not going to burn. The reason people choose to go to a quartz product is because it's very consistent in color. You don't have the variation like you have with granite. With granite, you can have color that's just all over the place. You can look at a little piece of granite, and that's not, that you could get your slab looks nothing like that. So when you choose granite, it's recommended you go to the granite yard, and honestly, pick your piece of granite, pick your slab. You put your name on it and your fabricator will come pick up that slab. With quartz product, you can look at a little sample and that is exactly what you're going to get. You need to spend a lot of time when remodeling or designing a kitchen. A lot of people come in, they want to rush through it, they decide, oh, I'm ready for a new kitchen, and they want to have it done in a month. Sometimes it'll take you a month to 2 months just to design the kitchen. You want to spend your time, make sure you do it right. It's going to take time with the actual remodeling process. You're going to be without a kitchen for a long time, and you want to make sure when it's going back in that you're getting what you want.
A lot of my friends have said, how long is it going to take for you to get this place finished? Well, I admit it is taking a little longer than I thought, but you know, it's because we're trying to make sure that we do everything as green as possible. And to do that, well, you've got to make some choices, and to do some choices, you've got to do some research. And the thing I've learned is that when you create a greenhouse, it's all about the systems. They all have to work together. The windows, we've certainly done that, have to work in concert with the door units, and then the whole heating system, how it's ventilated, air circulation. And for instance, the radiant heat system that we have, well, you can't put that in without having the right roof. So we've got the standing seam roof that's going to work in concert with the system that will preheat the hot water in the house and also keep the house warm, all from the sun. Now, if you take on a green project, you need to be excited about what you're doing, and I certainly am. And there are others out there who are experimenting with green building, like my friend Paige Wilson, who says that green building is a choice, and it certainly is. So let's listen to what this 30-year rice farmer has to say about his green building strategies.
For 30 years, I was a rice farmer in eastern Arkansas. And in those 30 years of farming, most farmers that I know are stewards, land stewards, and so we share this planet with everybody else, and so we each have a responsibility to do what we can in our own little way. And in my own little way, this is what I'm doing. Instead of food production, now I'm doing housing and shelter. So we're doing these small little dwellings in an urban infill situation where we're using existing lots, we're using existing infrastructure. One of the easiest things to do with these houses is to employ passive strategies, which would be the sun orientation, to maximize that sun and solar gain. And when we come around to the house, our houses are not situated in the center of the lot. They're situated 5 feet to the north, and so they gain more winter sun. And in the summertime, they're protected more by the sun being right over the top of the roof, which is a galvanized roof, which is highly reflective. It will cool the city because it's a silver roof. And then on the sides, we have hardy board plank, which is green board, which is pressed fiber cement, which is very durable and will last a long time. We paint it with 50-year paint. On top of that, we use 50-year caulk. So hopefully this house is really about low maintenance, low energy, and low water usage. We stress water usage in green also. It's part of that component. Part of the passive strategy involves outdoor space, and so we use an outdoor screen with a louver system on it, which gives you a sense of security here in an urban environment, and it also blocks a lot of direct sunlight in the summertime. And we'll go inside and we'll take a look at everything in there. One of the first things you'll notice when you walk in the house is the concrete floor. And the concrete floor, we use the concrete floor for a couple of reasons. One is a maintenance issue. The other one is an indoor air quality issue. And it also acts as a thermal mass, so it is a passive strategy. So heat that comes in the wintertime is released into the house at night, and so it lowers your electric bill. We use a gas fireplace, so we don't have to cut wood. But it is very convenient, and it has a blower on it, so it will heat this house in this area should we lose power in the future. You would at least stay warm in this house. We do have a lot of electronics in the house, so green doesn't have to be about having any creature comforts. As we go around the room, all the walls are painted white, and that helps reflect light in here. We have a lot of natural light. We use a lot of glass in this house. It's all low-E glass. It's 1-inch thick glass. It's storefront commercial glass. is what it is. It has a small metal tin in it that reflects the sun outside, but lets all the natural light in. And that lowers your bill and lets you use light most of the time without turning on the lighting above, which is CFL lighting, which is complex fluorescent lighting. And CFL bulbs lower your energy bills too. But the natural light actually is what we use most of the time in this house. You only need the lighting at night or for reading purposes. The windows incorporate a lot of natural ventilation and cross ventilation in this house, so that if you open the windows on certain days and certain times of the season in Arkansas, especially 3 or 4 months out of the year, you hardly even have to have your heat pump on. And that's what heats and cools this house, is a heat pump. The kitchen, all the appliances in the kitchen are Energy Star rated appliances. We use a kitchen manufacturer that is a green company, and it's green because of the way they ship their product. So the space that we talked about outside, and that indoor-outdoor space, expanding in a smaller space, it would work like this. If you were here, you would open up this door, the other doors, and you would have the circulation in and around the kitchen, the living room, and out into about 250 square feet of porch area. So in Arkansas, you could use this space a lot more efficiently and have an entertaining space that most people would enjoy. Being green is a lifestyle choice, but you don't have to sacrifice comfort and space.
You know, I don't let the weather get in the way of me enjoying my garden. For instance, just look at this beautiful curly endive I'm growing. Hey, and we've already had a frost. So I'm planting cool weather vegetables now. A lot of them have been planted for the last few weeks. This endive was planted about 45 days ago. But the way I'm doing it is really through a couple of methods. One of the simplest is to take a frost blanket. Just look at this blanket I've got back here. What's great about this stuff is that during the day it captures the heat, all right? And it stores it under here so it moderates the nighttime temperatures when it really plummets. That's where you can get damage on your plants. Sun can penetrate through this, so the plants are happy through the day with it on there. Water can also permeate it, and this stuff lasts for a long time. In fact, these pieces I've used for 2 seasons, so they're really handy to have around. And you put them in with a pin. Let me just show you right over here. You put them in with these little staples like this, so it's really easy to install. And I'm able to extend my growing season for up to a full month out here. The great thing about some of these season extenders is that you can move your production a month into the winter. For instance, it's almost the end of November and I have endive, I have onions, I have cabbage, kale, broccoli, as well as 2 varieties of lettuce and some beautiful Swiss chard. Now there's some other ways you can extend the season as well. One is by making a simple cold frame. And while you can purchase these pre-made or in kits, I came up with a really simple how-to that I'd like to share with you. I based the measurements of this design on the raised beds in my city garden, and you can certainly adjust it to fit your needs too. Even in the mildest climates, temperatures can drop suddenly and cause big problems in the garden, so I'm always looking for solutions. I came up with a simple design for a cold frame that sits right on top of the raised beds in my vegetable garden. If you don't have raised beds, I've found this concept helpful for bringing plants through the winter by setting it on top of bales of straw. The idea here is really simple. It's just taking energy from the sun and warming the soil and air temperatures. This makes the plants very happy. There's really nothing to it. Some 2x4s, plastic, and some concrete reinforcing wire. The first step in putting this together is to build a 2x4 frame. And to save time, I had the boards pre-cut at the lumber yard. This concrete reinforcing wire is strong stuff. It's the key to the support. Now, it can be purchased in standardized rolls and then cut to fit your cold frame. Now, I always try to cut enough to create an arc that's at least 24 inches high at the highest point. This gives me plenty of room for ventilation and enough room to work. I attach the wire with large staples and then secure this 4mm plastic sheeting with smaller staples, and I use a nylon fabric strip to keep it from tearing. Ventilation's important, and you can get this by leaving the ends open or cutting slits in the top. Cold frames are a great way to protect plants and extend the gardening season. Of course, for bulbs and perennials, it's always wise to give them a good layer of mulch before heading into winter. This will help protect many plants that might wake up a little too early and poke their heads out. This happens often in the south. You see, we hit a brief warm-up and all the plants start thinking spring. Then a freeze hits and your poor plants take a beating. So giving them some protection can really save a lot of heartache later on. And another often overlooked winter prep tip is watering. I just can't stress enough how important it is to give everything in your garden a good deep soak before freezing weather hits. Just think of it this way. You see, these plants may be heading into a long few months with little to no precipitation. And a healthy, well-hydrated plant will survive much better than one that's weak and wilted. Now here's a slightly more impressive way to garden or protect your plants from fall through the winter and into the spring. My little Victorian greenhouse. I love this thing. And last week we got a real scare. The weatherman said temperatures are going to plummet. So I gathered up all the plants that I had that are tender and moved them in here, and you can see I didn't take much time to organize them, so I'm going to do that now, but at least they're protected. Now, one thing I want to point out, if you have a greenhouse like this, in the winter, even though it's cold outside, the rays of the sun are equally intense, so it's nice to have one of these little shade cloths that come along with your greenhouse. It'll help protect your plants. You see, the rays of the sun, well, they can blister their foliage. The other thing to keep in mind is this has ventilation. And I open the doors often, even on winter days, to make sure that it doesn't get too hot in here. I tell you, if you get a chance to have a little greenhouse like this, do it. You won't regret it. I've had so much fun with it. You know, I honestly can't remember when I wasn't growing something. When I was a kid, fruit, vegetables, herbs, flowers, you name it, I love growing it. And here at the end of the garden season, you might think, well, there's nothing really to grow. Well, that's not true at all. We enjoyed this okra all summer long. We took pods, and my favorite way, besides fried, is to take pods that are a little smaller than this. Now, this one's pretty tough now, but if you'll take these okra pods that are, you know, maybe in this range right here, this size, they're nice and tender, put a little olive oil on them, a little salt, a little pepper, and roast them on the grill for about 2 or 3 minutes. They are delicious. Well, the okra loves it hot, and suddenly we've had a frost, and you can see what it does to it. But there are other plants here that are thriving just as well. For instance, I've got some white turnips along here. Just take a look at these beauties. Now look at that little gem. Gorgeous little white turnip. Now, you may say, I don't really like turnips. If you've never tried one of these white turnips roasted in a pan with some olive oil, maybe just a little garlic, but just forget the garlic, just olive oil and sea salt. They are delicious. So my point here is that you can garden more seasons of the year than you think, and there's probably something out here that if you grill it, you're gonna love it. Well, I think it's about time that we check that oven and just see how high the temperature's gotten. You know, this is going to be a great place for outdoor dining and entertaining. Just one example of blurring the lines between inside and out. Now let's check that oven. Well, we're not doing too badly. We're almost at 350 degrees, but we have a ways to go if we're going to get up to that 700-degree mark. I hope you've enjoyed today's show as much as I have. We've spent some time out in the fall garden and enjoyed sort of the spirit of the season. Until next time, from the Garden Home, I'm Alan Smith. More information about today's topic and other topics covered in this series can be found at pallansmith.com.
On an upcoming episode of P. Allen Smith's Garden Home.
We're bringing the garden indoors and having a look at this new flower arranging space. Find out about essential flower arranging tools and travel with me to Holland to see a world-class flower market supplying blooms to florists all over the globe. If you've dabbled in flower arranging or admired the work of others, you're going to enjoy all the tips in this show that help you bring the garden indoors.